Oh, we're live. Apparently, we have no countdown. Um, or Dopey here forgot to put it on. Um, I think there is actually a countdown. I'll see if I can get it. See if it's actually here. Oh, there is. There is one. Ah, there we go. So we have been played in this time. I made a mistake and forgot to put it on. So
Oh, false
you've
start
duffed
on
it.
the offense. Oh, I've made a mess of it. There we go. We're off to a strong start.
We definitely are. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the 2022 Britball with the Breens. I'm your host here, Sean, and my partner in crime, brother, on the other side there. Chris, are you there with us? Yes.
Yeah, I'm here with you. Yeah, excited to be back because we've got competitive football for the first time since 2019. So buzzing for it, ready to go.
Indeed, we do. Um, Outside of before we get our guests in and stuff, I've got a couple of things here. Chris, I forgot to download the video of your unsportsmanlike conduct on Flynn. I was going to show that because it's absolutely hilarious, but we'll brush over that. Second of all, one of my swimmers is swimming in the national championships just now, so if at any point I cheer really loudly, it's because he's done really well. So what I'll do is we'll introduce our guest. Our guest today was on our show last year. Very knowledgeable guest, and we had a great time talking to him. Aaron says it's good to have the guys back talking Britball. Thanks very much, Aaron.
Thanks,
Um,
Aaron.
so we'll get him in. So tonight we've got Craig Barnes in from the Hertfordshire Cheetahs, and I said it right first time. He's going to come in and chat to us for a minute, and I'm going to get his opinion on a play, and that's going to be one of the first things to do. But we'll have a chat with him first. So let's get Craig in. Good evening, Craig. How are
Good
you?
evening. Good evening, my Caledonian friends. I am as excited as a 7-year-old on Christmas Eve. We're finally at the starting gate now, and I couldn't. It's palpable now. The excitement. I can't wait.
Chris,
Definitely.
do you feel the same way, Chris, or is it nervousness for you?
Nah, I'm the same way. I mean, a lot's changed since we last spoke on here, Craig. I played in the 2021 non-competitive season. I hurt my knee. It turned out that I ruptured my ACL, and I'm waiting on surgery, which happens in 2 weeks. Um, and since then, I coached offense at the Aberdeen University team and now head coach at the Aberdeen Roughnecks. So it's been a bit busy. Weren't sure we were going to be back this year, but as I said, if we don't cover the British game and everything that's good about it, who the hell will? So definitely want to step
We
up and
do
get
it
it
so
done.
others don't have to.
Because others don't. That's it.
And I think this is the first year that I'm not involved really at all in any of the teams. Like I'm not playing this year. I'm not really coaching this year at the moment either. But again, this is great. This is what we want to get involved in. It does give me an awful lot more time to go and search through all the social media accounts for all the teams. So, which has been
Which
a good
means
laugh.
hopefully he gets more things right this year. But I'm not going to, tempt fate because there's a high chance I could still be wrong.
Well, I already
It's
scared myself because Berkshire, oh, I said it
Berkshire.
wrong already. Berkshire obviously put up a post about their under 19s leaving the season, and I thought it was their adult team, and I predicted them to win a division. So I was like, no! And then I read it, and it was actually okay. So I was, although
wow.
Northants definitely messaged us on Instagram to say, yeah, Sean, we like Chris better because you chose Northants anyway, and obviously I've got one wrong already. So
Just saying.
evening, Steve.
Nice to see you. Congratulations, Steve, on yet another championship for yourself and one of your teams. Enjoying the game. It was good.
So, how are we this year, Craig? How's your team looking? How you feeling about the season coming?
Well, I have to say, I am a lot more bullish than I have been in previous seasons. There has been grim determination on my side of the ball in previous years, but this year I will give a shout out to our OC, Gary Cullerton, who took over Game 2 of last season and took us unbeaten. And pre-season has been really good. Really, we've had good turnouts, and the guys have worked really hard. And in scrimmage, I have to fight him schematically every single week. Whereas before, I would like to think that I perhaps had the upper hand. Gary is a swine to actually coach against, because he moves you around and he adapts, and he leads you down little blind alleys, and I love it because he's great. He's exactly what we need. The offense, I know you guys done a bit of a piece on the Division 1, and you said that if our offense can kick into gear from the start, we could have a good season. We will kick into gear. That we're looking to come flying out the blocks on Sunday, and so yeah, I'm more cautiously confident than perhaps than I would be in previous years. So.
And I think if you go back to 2018, obviously you won Division 2 in 2018. You put up so much points, and then step up, and you've obviously been you are in one of the toughest divisions, and obviously the defenses are better. So, but your defense is always held really strong, and offense just kind of has its moments. Whereas, as we've said in the rankings, if your offense can get going, the defense is already good, then who knows? I mean, Russell's saying give Craig a grilling. If his offensive coordinator has been trying to do that all pre-season by the sounds of it, so
he's a nightmare. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, historically, from what we know of your defenses, they've been pretty damn good. So if you're feeling a bit more bullish this year, it's a terrifying prospect, that's for sure. So we look forward to seeing it.
To be fair, Chris, I mean, we improved week on week last year to the point that we put 34 points on Wembley in the last game in their backyard. So, the signs were there, and we have really kicked on. Gary's got purely his own offense in now, and we're really looking to start setting about teams this season.
That's great news. I think we're all looking forward to this getting back. So it's going to be quite exciting for this. And one thing for sure is, guys, there is loads of games every week because it's so short. There's loads of games every week, so we'll get to talk through them.
I mean, we could comment on that, but we'll just let it go just now, I think. But the condensed season is likely to make it a heavier workload when we are on. So and it should be fun.
Yeah, and I guess that one of the things that's going to come up is referees, and it leads me perfectly into my first thing this week, and I'm going to share this with you, Craig. So before I go in, guys, if you're watching, like and share this, get this sent out to everybody. We'd quite like to grow our following this year, so if you can do that. But I'm going to share my screen, and we'll go into the first thing here, which is our usual. Now,
because this is my first foray into the university leagues, and because we're in Aberdeen in Division 2, and we know how busy their officials are up this way. Unfortunately, it left us relying on reprobates like Sean to officiate some of our games. So,
excuse me,
what could possibly go wrong?
So, this is one of the things here. So, for obviously we've got our normal screen, but we've already had 3 teams. Well, I feel bad putting the Leeds on here because Leeds did the right thing, and
that's a smart decision.
A smart decision. So I feel kind of bad for putting them on here, and even the Thunderbolts. The Thunderbolts, after what Sussex went through last year, again probably a smart decision. Morecambe Bay, you deserve to be here. I can't believe you pulled out that close to the season.
And we'll come to that one later.
We will. But one thing I want to go through is we obviously don't have a play of the week this week because there's been no games so far. However, as Chris said, we were a bit short on refs up here one week, so I got a phone call and said, I got a phone call that said, Sean, you're a level 2 coach. Can you come and ref this game? And I was like, absolutely. And you know this, I quite enjoyed it until the point I got written up. Right now, not a word of a lie. This is the play that I got written up for because apparently this is pass interference and I didn't call it. Okay, so I'll let it play through and then I'll pause it at the moment, in which is the case. So this is a game. We'll not say what teams it are.
Well, I mean, it's obvious what one of them is.
Yes. Well, yeah, it should hope so. But this is a game. So the quarterback drops back, passes through. Right, play's broken up. Okay, now a few things here. Right, wait, let me see here until I get this right position. Wait until I see if I can get it here. This is me, right? So I am right where this play is happening. Okay. Now, if we just drop it back a bit, this is when the ball's coming in. So you can see that the player has no contact around the outside. He has one arm coming around the outside, right? And then once it goes to the other side of me, the receiver actually looks like he's away to maintain the ball. But again, he's come around the outside of the receiver and he ends up stripping the ball at the last minute. It's out. Now, I never called this as PI, and the sideline opposite us went absolutely nuts. And then they actually wrote us up for that. And I was like, you joking me? Now, Craig, as a defensive guy, I'm sure you're going to be saying there's no way in hell this is PI. But I'd like your honest
right.
opinions.
You're right. As even if I was an OC, I would have to concede that guy, the DB in this, has done nothing wrong as far as I'm concerned. He's got round the player. He's attacked the basket as best he can. I honestly don't think he's done anything wrong. Whoever thought that was PI, I think, was being very wishful thinking. Caveat: I am a DC, so as you say, I'm going to give the DB the benefit of the doubt, but I can't see if he pulled him back or pulled the other arm down. I could say, you could say, okay, that's DPI, but I'm sorry, I can't see that there.
I think part of it was actually that this call never got called, and the next play was a massive 60-yard touchdown. So they were raging. But I honestly, as someone who isn't a ref and just a coach, and I thought to myself, actually totally thought that one was a correct call, and I still got my backside kicked for it.
I think the kind
as an O player, that looks clean.
There you go.
Now you know this. Their offensive lineman came up to me and said, "Good call, ref," and then left as if to say, "Don't say anything,"
and then ran away.
I think the thing is, though, right, is I got a lot of first-time experience coaching a university team this year. I've never really seen any much of Bucks or whatever, but still, it was the first time I've seen a game stop mid-game to write up the officials. I've never seen it before in my life. Stop! No! Stop! Can you sign this paperwork, please? And it was honestly, one of the funniest things I've seen.
Yeah, looking back here, both ball, no PI, but Craig's right here, right? Craig says, "Looking for this, but I'd still shout for it."
I mean, as an offensive-leaning coach, I would definitely be going, come on, but I would accept that it was probably never getting anything.
And Don is actually correct. However, the one thing I will say, Don, is that at this point, you can clearly see both arms for the receiver are clear, and the right arm of the defender is not there. So that's my only defense for that. But you are right. I can't see the other side. But here, at this point, both his arms are on this ball, and there's no arm of the defender in the back. So that would be my only defense there. But you are right. I can't see that bit. Okay, ran over. Wanted to show that. Was really hacked off about it. It's the first time reffing.
I don't blame you.
Yeah. So,
funnily enough, he never came back to referee any of our games after that, which probably tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah. So, what we'll do is we'll go into our games now. As I say, there is loads. So some of them we have more information on. Naturally, some of them we don't. However, I have scouted out a lot of the social media accounts this week to see what we can see. Some of you guys are really active. Some of you guys are not. But we've chosen our game of the week this week. Now, remember, our game of the week is not necessarily who scores loads of points. It's what we think is going to be a really close game. and we actually reckon this will be a close game. So we've gone for the Cambridgeshire Cats versus the London Hornets. I've heard some good things about the Hornets. I've heard that they have done some decent stuff this offseason. Having watched some of their game film from clips and stuff and film that we've been sent by people, they have a decent team last year. If anything, secondary a little bit dodgy at times, but again, they could have improved that massively. So this is our game of the week. Now, Chris, I'm going to let you go first with this one because hopefully Craig will have some knowledge on Hornets or some details on Hornets. So I'll let you go first on this one before we get Craig's expert advice to make us look stupid.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of, the Hornets, had a bit of an up and down year last year, really, didn't they? I mean, they had a big win against the London Blitz B at one point. They beat them 34-6 after early in the season getting beat 24-0. And, a good game with Hertfordshire, 25-20. It was so up and down. It was so unpredictable. Like, they either scored lots of points and conceded none, or conceded tons of points and scored none. It was really bizarre. Normally you sort of get the middle ground. I mean, like, they tied with Wembley and then they got hammered by them. It was just so strange. I think, it sounds so cliched and almost sounds like a Michael Owen comment here, right? But like, the first game of the season is always about who makes the fewest mistakes. Everyone's a bit rusty. You've not played competitive football in several months. It always comes down to who makes the least mistakes. And I think what we've seen from the Cats over the years is they're just such a steady football team that I think when it comes down to it, they're going to make less mistakes. And because of that, I think they'll win. I think it'll be close. I mean, we wouldn't have picked it as our game of the week, which, by the way, we're flattered by the fact that everyone else seems to do now, including Bafa, who actually put out a game of the week yesterday, as well. So, thanks, guys. Imitation's the highest form of flattery and all. But no, I think this will be a close game. But I think the Cats will make less mistakes, and that's why they'll win.
Yeah, I think what normally happens at the start of the season is the offense takes longer to click, and historically the Cats' defense has always been really solid. Last season it was the same, even if it was a COVID season. Last season was the same, but the year before they were 9-1. They always have a solid defense. So if your offense isn't clicking straight away, they're probably going to punish you for that. And for me, that's why I think the Cats will win this one. Craig, do you know much about these guys?
Well, obviously, with the Hornets, we locked horns with them twice last season in the so-called non-competitive season. I think we had as competitive a couple of games with them as we would have with anybody at any time. I would say, as Steve Price said a little while ago on one of the shows on Gridiron Hub, he said the second year might be more pertinent to club survival than the last year. The second year might be harder for a lot of clubs, and I'm afraid I have a worry that this is going to apply with London Hornets. I hope I'm absolutely wrong. They started out with a fairly small squad last year, and they've got some great players. They really have some players I really admire, and they fight like crazy to play hard football. But they really started to struggle towards the end of the season. I mean, we had two very physical games with them, particularly the one at home. We lost two players to season-ending injuries, and I think that knocked their numbers down a bit to the point that they were really struggling to put a side out. They still did, bless them. Fair play to them. They didn't, pull the COVID card to try and duck out of games, but I think they did. They did not. I think they missed out on one, but generally they always stood up to the plate, and they're a good hard side. So if they have done stuff in the off season and recruited, great. I'm really pleased for them. I'd love to see them compete in that division. Cambridge have also been fairly active. They've looks like they've recruited. They've had a bit of coaching changes, but I think they've replaced mainly positional guys. They are a spread to run team, which will probably suit the Hornets a little bit more. As you say, their secondary is a little bit vulnerable. But I think personally it will be a low-scoring game. Not necessarily. Let's not overthink it and say, "Oh, the offense takes a little bit longer to click," because at the end of the day, these are two fairly simple offenses. Particularly the Hornets. They're very they have a traditional offense, shall we say, 21 personnel and a traditional defense. But they're good. They're good football players, and I think it will be fairly low-scoring. Maybe 14-7 or something. I think Cambridgeshire will just have the scheme with their short passing. Their quarterback's pretty good at that, and they've got good defense. I've long admired their defense. I think they'll keep the Hornets under wraps. I think it will probably just be Cambridge by a nose, I think.
I forgot to mention. I forgot to message Cambridge's centre because he broke his leg in 2019 when they were on that run. So I don't know if he's back or if he's coming back, but it'd be nice to know if he healed up and is ready to come back.
I'm pretty sure Lee's coaching now. I think he's just coaching.
Is he?
But he might be back playing this year. I don't know, but I thought he was just coaching now.
Okay, well we'll see how they go. But yeah, 3 Cambridgeshire votes is fine. Right. So we'll go through these. I'm going to make sure I go through these properly. But they are not in order. Chris is going to go mental because he likes everything to be in order. But unfortunately, they are not because they were just the way they were displayed to me. So our first game of the week is the London Blitz B versus the Essex Spartans, which I actually considered for game of the week. However, I think this one will be a little bit higher scoring than the game we've got, and it might be a case of in the fourth quarter a team puts up a couple of touchdowns and it ends up not being so close. So I'll start with this one. Essex Spartans. Obviously, they were promoted after the 2019 season. They played fairly well last year. They scored plenty of points. They had solid running game. Their running back had touchdowns sent to us almost every week. And really, if they can continue that momentum on, then they have a really good chance of competing with the London Blitz B. However, the one thing I will say for the London Blitz B is they were very good last year, and they were probably in the toughest division last year in terms of like competitiveness and what is a non-competitive season. And the Blitz for both teams seemed to get stronger as the season went on, because even the Blitz A team managed to give the Warriors a scare in the last game of the season. So for me, I'm going to side with the Blitz here. And I think it'll come down in fourth quarter. They'll put up a few touchdowns and put Essex away. Craig?
Blitz B will have benefited from the confidence boost of playing against the Div 1 teams last year, whereas Essex, I think, did a bit of a tour of associate and Div 2 teams. They're not the most prolific of offences, the Spartans, historically. Blitz B, if they have picked up a couple of juniors, may have a couple of athletes, and that might be all that separates them. They have got an issue at quarterback, as we found with them, but if they can, if they've got a strong running game, they may well be able to get one over. I say they would have had a lot of confidence after last season, and whilst they fell away at the end, and that's the only thing. There's a slight caveat that this is probably the right game for them at the right time. A 10-game season will start to weigh heavy on them. But I think Blitz B will probably have just a little bit too much for the Spartans on this occasion.
Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I like both these teams, but we know that, I mean, you'd almost want to call this the contentious bowl, wouldn't you, after 2019, 3 teams got promoted, and the Spartans got promoted over the Blitz B, and then there was a bit of aggro back and forth, and then at the end and when they went into their divisions for last year's non-competitive season, the Blitz B got put into Division 1 opponents, and the Essex Spartans got put into Division 2 opponents, and then when they released originally the divisions for this year, Essex had been demoted back down in Division 2 because they spoke to me about it, and they were really unhappy, and rightfully so. It was amended, and they're back in Division 1. So, yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to this game. I think this could be, this could be quite good fun. The Spartans have a really strong run game. They clearly rely heavily on that run game. It's more about, as you say, a traditional based offense. And I guess you can look at that two ways. I mean, if you really struggle to slow that run game down, I mean, the Blitzby are going to have issues. But if they're able to shut up shop up the middle, then it's going to be a long day for the Spartans. Overall, I think, as we spoke about with the Blitzby playing the opponents they played last year and having some pretty damn good games along the way, I think they're going to be feeling more confident, and I expect the Blitzby to win.
Yeah, so three Blitzbees wins there. The next game is the Chester Romans versus Nottingham Caesars. Again, another that could be an absolute cracker. I'll let you go first on this one, Chris.
We could have easily picked this one as the game of the week, right? I mean, a lot of people would have. The Chester Romans last year played against two Premier Division opponents and didn't look out of place, right? Yeah, I mean, the Manchester Titans looked like the better team, but they gave Merseyside two hellish games. Their offense is incredibly explosive, unbelievably explosive on offense. They shipped a lot of points on defense too when they played those higher level teams. But where we talked about them when the Lee Miners, who we'll come to later, and then they put up 117 points or something, was it? And that was with the running clock coming in immediately when they hit 35, as opposed to waiting until half time. So offense is hugely explosive. The Caesars were good, if not what's the word I'm looking for? I wouldn't say uninspiring. That sounds too harsh, but they weren't as exciting as I was expecting them to be last year. I kind of thought with some of the opponents they had in their division, we were going to see a hell of a lot of offense, a lot of explosive plays, and yeah, they were trying to obviously bed in a new quarterback, but they looked decent. And I think when don't get me wrong, it was played in a bloody hurricane, but when they played the Manchester Titans, they gave them a good game, which isn't easy for anyone, even in bad weather. They're a solid team. They've been solid for a long time. I think the Chester Romans offense is just too explosive, though. I think, especially later on in the game, that might tell. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that the Chester's explosive offense has just spluttered out for no reason. I mean, look at the year they kind of drew 7-7 with Halton in 2018, and it was a bit bizarre, but yeah, I think that offense is just going to be too explosive, and I expect the Romans to win it.
Yeah, Craig.
Sorry, Grant.
Well, I have to say I've not seen enough from Chester. I mean, we could say it's not really fair because they've got Chester Romans and Flintshire Romans on one side against everybody else, so they've got two teams. But no, they've sort of burrowed away in the background, apparently getting better, and there seems to be quite a bit of a hype train with the Romans. I'm prepared to listen to it. I would like to see real evidence over a period of time with them. Now, as far as Nottingham is concerned, I think Coach Lawless was actually playing last season with a view to getting a platform of players. I'm prepared to believe that he knew exactly what he was doing and was not putting his best side out all the time. He put his best side out against the Titans and ended up, giving them a game. So I think they're very strong offensively. They play when we played a preseason against them, they were very effective with a bit of zone read, and their defense is very aggressive. So if they've got personnel that can get through to the Romans quarterback, and it could be very interesting. Obviously, a big shout out to Lynn McGovern, who's a former Cheetah, who's the Caesars QB. Not quite sure if he's starting yet because he's only a young lad, but he's making great strides.
I think that's who they blooded in last year. I'm pretty sure
that's
that was
right.
his name.
Yeah, he was throwing touchdowns. I think you gave him a player of the week. Actually, he's a good prospect, but yeah, I like Nottingham. I have to say, they recruited well. I think they will. Obviously, this is going to be a big game for two teams who are wanting to leave a mark on the season and put a marker down. And I think Nottingham are going to do it. I think they're going to be the ones who come out the blocks quickest.
I think it's interesting. Yeah, like by the end of the last season, honestly, I can't remember. It might have been actually Grant himself, but I think their roster was huge. Like Nottingham's roster, I think it was massive by the end of the season.
Yeah.
So you're right. He was probably just bedding everything in for basically the this year coming. And here's a message from him. Look, is this Liam McGovern? Is it? He's not playing on
Oh,
Sunday.
Jesus Christ!
Oh right. Oh yes.
Right. So that's another thing that I don't know. I honestly don't know anything about the All-Star game, to be honest with you. I don't pretend to know anything about Uniball at all. So
it's poorly timed. That's all I know.
yeah, I believe it's pretty poorly timed. But again, a lot of them will be playing, so hopefully that doesn't affect them too much. But they had a huge roster by the end of the season. But on the other side, so did Chester. Like Chester's numbers have gone steadily up. They won the division. They won their division and got all the way to the final in 2018. And in 2019, they solidified their place in Division 1. And then last year, they just seemed to have a bit more about them, and they did. They did score a lot of points last year, and I think if that's the case, my question here is really how good are Northants Knights, right? Because Northants Knights gave Nottingham a game. Now, if they are as good as we think they are, then it's not a tell on Nottingham. But if they are still just top of Division 2 level, are Chester now above average Division 1 level, and are they going to be too much for Nottingham? And that's where I kind of stand. I think Chester will win this one. I don't think they'll be putting up 50 points. I think it'll be 28-21 or something. But I think that the Chester Romans will have too much for them here. Next one here. Right, Chris, you can shush about your team.
I'll easily take it first, but I want no predictions from here. So, yeah, I mean, obviously this is my guys. I'm back where I belong in Aberdeen.
Your old team versus your old team.
Massive shout, massive shout out to the guys at Clyde Valley. I mean, when I was kind of left with nowhere to go, they took me in and treated me as one of their own. So, I love the guys down there, and it was always going to be them first. As soon as it got announced I was the head coach at Aberdeen, I knew fine who were getting first game, and it was always going to be Clyde Valley. We're away from home, and a lot of respect for Coach Yates as well, and I'm looking forward to going down there and seeing everyone. It should be a good game. Aberdeen weren't able to field a team last year, and I think for the first game of the season, we they had about 13 people available, and they just pulled the plug. So the fact that we're able to get ourselves ready to play a season was my first goal this year. So we've checked that off. So I'm just excited to get going.
Yeah, and I think we obviously know a fair bit about Clyde Valley, having been there last year, but we also know there's a lot of players left. There's a lot of players come in, by the sounds of it, and they are a tough team. They're physical, and they will run the ball at you. The Roughnecks, as I say, I've obviously no involvement with them really this year, but I have been down to a couple of training sessions, and decent numbers, and I'm hoping that you're right. You've managed to do the first thing, get the team back on track, get the numbers in, start the process again, and it's not going to happen overnight. So you've got to hope that this is the first season that you'll build through, and then over the next couple of seasons you'll start to see some serious progress again from that team, because we are isolated up here. we don't really have any competitors to be stealing players off us and stuff. Although a few of them have gone down south. So I think this is going to be a close one. I think Clyde Valley might edge it purely because they got stronger as the season went on last year, and obviously there's a lot of rookies on the Aberdeen side. So that would be my prediction there. Craig, do you want to fly in a prediction so Chris doesn't have to?
Yeah, I'll be happy to. I'm sure a foaming at the mouth speech from Chris before the game kicks off will inspire his men to an absolute battering of the Blackhawks, who they're a fine old name from Britball, and I wish them every best for the rest of the season. I think it's going to be a wave of emotion going on Sunday that's going to carry the Roughnecks to victory, I think.
I think it's one thing before we kind of go any further with this. I put a shout out on Twitter to fellow coaches to kind of find out what the faux pas were about being a head coach. Do you speak to the opposition head coach? Do you not? Can you speak to some of their players? Obviously I was teammates with them last year and stuff. And I must admit, the response was absolutely phenomenal. So massive shout out to all the coaches that got back to me. I really appreciate your counsel on that. With the exception of Don Edmonston, who told me to always select kick if you win the coin toss. I know why you're doing it, and I'm not going to fall for it, so don't even try it.
Nice one, Don. Try and get him.
You had to get up early to beat him.
Yeah. Our next game comes from South. And this one's Colchester Gladiators versus Ouse Valley Eagles. Now, from my point of view here, I picked Colchester to be one of the strongest teams in Division 2. They played well last year. They beat everybody except for the Cats. They did lose to Norwich in the last game of the season, but again, it was 1-1 in that series. And one thing I don't know about Norwich, but I would guess that Norwich have gained some players by the folding of Bury. And they look like their squad got bigger as the season went on. So for me, them losing to the Norwich Devils in the last game of the season isn't an issue. I think they're still going to be a really strong team. Ouse Valley struggled at times last season, and then at random games seemed to turn up and keep the game really close. So, but I think Colchester will have too much for them, and I think they'll win this one over. Craig?
Yeah, this will be the sort of crucial second year coming out of pandemic, I think, for any Div 2 teams. Ouse Valley, I believe, have recruited. Their defence is going to be a bit stronger, so they may well be able to compete in games a little bit more than perhaps they did last year. Roger Brown, their OC, is a fine schemer and will get, he will find space on that field. I think that Colchester, are slow, steady. They're slow and steady away, and I think that I can see a very low scoring game here. Really, maybe 20 points between the two of them. I'd be very surprised if either side racks up any number of scores, but. I think Colchester might have a bit more stability behind them going into this game. I might be wrong, so a lot of this is stabbing in the dark for all of us, but I suspect that Colchester might just have a little bit more continuity from last year, that they will carry the day in the end.
Yeah, Chris?
Yeah, see, the advantage, Craig, with coming in week one is the fact that we can all be wrong about absolutely everything, and nobody can say anything to you because everyone's expecting us to be wrong anyway, because we have no idea what's going to happen. So it's a beautiful advantage that you get this out the way early, because later in the season, once you know a few things, people start to slag you off for getting it wrong. 2019 was so disappointing for both these sides, and I can't remember, one of them went down and one of them volunteered from the same division. It was really, really a struggle for them. But Colchester rebounded quite well last year. I think it's Ouse Valley, isn't it? You say it's like an ooze. This is one I can't say. Ooze.
Ghostbusters ooze.
I think last year, I can't really remember, but I think I expected Ouse Valley to rebound as one of the better teams, and I was wrong. Colchester, as you say, are quite steady. I mean, I think the biggest worry for Ouse Valley in this game is that the twice they played last year, it's last year, I get it, is they scored 0 points in both games. And that's not an easy thing to change. Obviously you can bring in players and totally turn your offense around. I understand that, but like it almost sends that message, doesn't it? That Colchester have your offense figured out, and that can be quite a difficult mindset to change. So I expect it to be close again, but I do think like the Gladiators will have too much.
Yeah. The next one comes up again from Scotland. Dumfries Hunters versus Highland Stags. Craig, I'll let you go first on this one, just because there's been very little come out of Dumfries Hunters. I can tell you that over the last while. So I'll let you have a shot in the dark at this one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Do you want me to fill you in with some of the info?
Yeah, please. Just give me
I'll easy take this one first, because I won't be making a prediction of us because it's my division.
Okay. You fill us in.
I think first things first. One of the main things, and there was a lot went on last year with the league, but the main issue I had is that a few teams got granted immediate admission into the league, yet the Highland Stags had to go through the associate process again, which just blows my mind that you can just go to one and to another. And I think they kind of really sent a message, because they were very good last year. They got a lot of big bodies, a lot of their players and coach and staff, and that come from the Wildcats setup. They were a very good team last year, very physical, ran the ball extremely well, and had a very good outside deep threat as well. So, the Dumfries Hunters are kind of like a stalwart in Division 2 North at this point. Like, again, their linemen are big guys, they're physical guys. They just love, throwing their faces in at people pretty much. Particularly one of their defensive tackles. He's unbelievable when I've seen him play. I think I was quite surprised by these two teams, because they met, and I believe Highland won the home fixture, which we were kind of like, well, it's a long way for the Hunters to travel. You're literally talking about the bottom of Scotland to the top of Scotland. And then I expected a close game down in Dumfries, and the Stags absolutely blew them away. And I was quite surprised by that. Not because it was a comment on the Stags, but because generally the Hunters have been a really good team. They've been in the playoffs the last, 3 years, 2 years? Must have been 2. I'm not going to make a prediction on it, but I still expect these two teams to be extremely physical. And I'd expect that to continue throughout the whole year.
Yeah, Craig, do you want to take a shot in the dark now?
Yeah. Now you've actually it's all come flooding back. Yeah, the Wildcats program, competed fantastically for years. Now, surely those kids have got older. They've become adults, and they will still want to play football. Surely they haven't been scarred by the whole process. And so, they've always been well coached. I remember seeing them at sort of Britball finals, youth finals, and they're good teams, good kids. And so, if they finally come through and they're sort of like 23, something like that, and they're starting to become the Stags, they're going to be one formidable football team. And it wouldn't surprise me if they did take this one. Actually, from what you said, I'd say I put my hands up. I know nothing of the Hunters, but I know of them, of course. But they may well be a physical team as well. I think the Stags will probably have too much. They're really well coached. I think they may well have too much for them.
Yeah, and I'll fill in something there as well, is that every game in that division is a bloodbath. Having played there for 7 years,
we like it.
There's no such thing as an easy game up there.
No, I bet.
But one thing with these guys is, you're right, the Highland program for the Highland Wildcats is exceptional. But one thing that they have had is, when the players get old enough, they leave Inverness to go to uni. So
of course,
there is Highlands and Islands University now, and it hasn't, it'll hopefully keep more of them up there, but a lot of them in the past have left to come to uni and then not return. But I know that there's an awful lot of work going on up there just now. So I'm hoping to do with oil and gas industry. So I'm hoping that that these guys will maybe have stayed in up there and that their squad's got bigger. I know they had a young boy from, I say a young boy, he told us to say man. So a young man from the Bristol team playing for them at middle linebacker, and he could hit. But I don't think he's back this year. But if they've managed to retain players up there, then yeah, I think Highland will take this one. You're right, Chris, that you kind of expect them to go down Dumfries and be a close game. But if you have two physical teams against each other and one just has a better scheme, then that's maybe where the points have come from there. So yeah, Highland Stags for me. All right, Tom says good choice.
A shout out to Tom, because when it was against the Highland Stags, I injured my knee, and he was top class. He looked after me even after the game was finished. So and also the Highland Stags, a lot of their guys did a head shave for I think it was Macmillan. Tom, you might correct me, but it was a cancer charity. So if you can hit them up, sponsor them some money for it. It was an extremely good cause, and they did a great job. And now there's a lot of bald Highland Stags.
Yeah. Tom, if you want, post the link to it in the chat, and folk can go on there. Next game, Gateshead Senators versus Darlington team. Now I know that I'm in for a roasting if Gateshead don't win this game, because Darlington were not happy that they were left out of my power rankings. And you know this, they have every right to be. In terms of, it's Maggie's, Chris.
Maggie's, apologies, Tom.
It's all right. So I am. The division is going to go between these two, in my opinion. And Gateshead have a habit of the last decade going up and down divisions. And when they're in Division 1, they get thumped. And when they're in Division 2, they seem to thump everybody. Now, they've lost their best offensive lineman, potentially their best player, to the Northumberland. But believe they've had some players that come in. Also, they have a really good youth setup, so they might have had some players graduate into the adult team from there. It's at home, so my pick's going to go for Gateshead here, but I know fine well that if they lose this game, they'll be punted straight out of my rankings, and I know exactly who they'll be replaced with. So this is going to be an interesting one, because I think last year, the first game, Gateshead won, but the last game, Darlington won. So it'll be interesting to see who's carried more into this season. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, with regards to Darlington, we spoke about it at length, how they kind of no problem, Tom. It's a great cause, so happy to give a shout out.
Anybody want to donate? There you go.
They were robbed of their first on-field win in their rookie season by Carlisle, or thou shall not be named, pulling out of the league again. And they were a good team. They were competitive in all their games, and I thought they were going to do quite well last year. And as you say, that first game with Gateshead, at Darlington, they lost 28-6, and then they beat them at Darlington 18-14, and it's like, these two are tight. They're quite similar teams as far as I'm aware. I mean, they do like to run the ball. You've known Gateshead for years. They're a big burly O-line, and they just love to go run straight behind it. Darlington, from the limited film I've seen of them, they do like to run the ball quite efficiently as well. I'm going to say Darlington. I'm going to do it. I'm going to say Darlington. I think this team are going to win, and I think they're going to laugh at you.
He's just playing both sides here, Craig. What do you think?
I've got the casting vote, haven't I, on this one? But
no pressure.
I agree that Gateshead are a bit of a yo-yo side that are sort of Division 1.5 or Division 2.5, which way you want to look at it. It depends, if they've picked up some former players, since because this is a big thing. Some players didn't want to play last year because of COVID, and may decide that this is their year now. Back to normal. And so, it is a bit of a shot in the dark. I think I'll go with the home team. I know Darlington's not a million miles away, but I think Gateshead will probably edge this one.
You're gonna get a thumbs down from Darren, because same as me, Darren's the Darlington's team coach. So
don't let me down, Darren. I'm on the Darlington train.
I will say something I'm not fear of taking a slagging off. So if you fancy taking it out of me, if you stump them, then be my guest.
Listen, you can't worry about it too much, because I declared myself as the Jurassic Coast Raptors #1 fan, and then they bailed out the season a week later. So it can't possibly get much worse than that. So I wouldn't worry too much about it.
True. The next game comes from the Hereford Stampede versus the Northants Knights. Now, again, one thing that we've said, this Northants Knights team were our rookie team of the year last year. They were obviously fantastic all year. They competed with some teams that have been in the league for years and are of a good level, Nottingham being one of them. And Hereford had what you'd expect from a rookie team's a season that you'd expect from a rookie team. So, from my mind, even though the Knights are travelling here, I believe their squad is strong. They've started to put all the things in place, but I think their adult squad is strong. I think they'll have way too much for Hereford this time. I could see this one being maybe 4 or 5 scores difference if Northants are as good as we think they are. Again, you never know, but I think that this could be an easy pick. Craig?
Well, Northants Knights OC is Nick Tilbury, who used to be our OC in 2020. He's an exceptional schemer. He will find space
in a good way. In a good way, Craig.
What?
He's
find space.
He's good at
he's a good schemer.
He's a good schemer.
Yeah. Obviously, yes. Yeah. It's not. It's not plots. Rather, it's yeah. Well, I was very impressed with his ability to his play calling. If they've got some useful players, I think they will have far too much for Hereford. Hereford, hopefully have built on what the year last year, and they will be more battle ready. But I think this is going to be a little bit of a surprise for them. I think Northants will win this quite comfortably.
Chris?
Yeah, I mean, it can get easy to kind of get brought onto a bit of a hype train, but Northants were very good last year. They gave Nottingham 2 very good games. Their setup is unreal. I mean, I've seen their pitch and it's all very good quality stuff. Hereford looked like a decent rookie outfit last year. There was nothing wrong with the way Hereford played. They kind of, they had some good games, had not so good games, but the Northant Knights looked really strong. And we know, like the Lincolnshire Bombers, for example, we know they struggled last year, but they were still generally like a stalwart Division 2 team. And the Knights beat them 52-0, and they put up a lot of points, and their defense was stingy as well, especially in those Caesars games. And then they played the London Olympians in a preseason game. I don't know if you caught this. And what was it? It was like 21-7 to the Olympians. Now, don't get me wrong.
2014.
2014.
I think they won it in the fourth quarter.
Now, don't get me wrong. It's preseason. I'm sure both teams wanted to get as many people on the field as possible. And the Olympians have no doubt had a big squad and wanted to rotate guys. But I cast my mind back to in our rookie season at Aberdeen when we played the then East Kilbride Pirates, when they were probably the second best team. Well, probably the best team in the North at that time.
In the UK.
And we played them in a joint scrimmage. And to say we got the living daylights kicked out of us is an understatement. So for any team, even in preseason, for the Northants Knights to go and put up that kind of a game against a team like the Olympians, you have to take notice of that. You have to sort of set up and go, well, how good are these guys? I mean, like, you take it with a pinch of salt, because yes, it is a preseason game, but I think they could be really good and really exciting to watch this year. And I think as for them with the Stampede, I think there's just going to be too much of a gap between the two.
Yeah, certainly be interesting to see just how good they are. The next game we have is the Humber Warhawks versus Lincolnshire Lightning. Chris has put himself on mute because his dog's digging in the living room. The Humber Warhawks, Craig, I'm gonna do you know anything about this? Do you want us to go first for this one?
Well, I will make a comment on it. But bearing in mind what you guys just said about Lincolnshire, they're the new side, aren't they? So like South Links Lightning, rookie team. I think Humber Warhawks built some momentum last year, and I watched their head coach on a. It might have been your show, actually. I can't remember. It was. Yeah, it impressed me a lot. And I think they're building something at Humber. I think, and I think they're looking. If they can kick on from what they did last year, I think they should dispatch the Lightning. Obviously, they have the opportunity to build on what they did last year, but. I think the Warhawks will win that one.
Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Lightning were, for an associate side, were pretty good last year. I mean, you expect them to turn up and, get absolutely blown away like most associate teams. That's no disrespect to any of them, but and one point I made before the season started was that they're right in the area of the old Peterborough Saxons, who were a decent football team as well at the time. So, they'll have no doubt got some of the senior figures from there. They're a strong looking side, and they've had a whole off season to kind of improve. Humber were our social media team of the year. Their social media is outstanding. I mean, I love watching their feed because they always come up with some good stuff. And last year, they had some good games, they beat the Doncaster Mustangs, beat the Bobcats. They got beat by the Yorkshire Rams, but Yorkshire Rams did a lot of damage to teams that year as well. My main thing with it is that a lot of their games were very close, not a huge amount of points, and the Lightning were the same boat. I mean, I'm not expecting a shootout by any stretch of the imagination, but I think the seniority of the Humber Warhawks will be the difference between the two teams.
Yeah, this would explain Northern Knight's very strong team.
Well, there you go.
And that's not how Russ pronounces a lot. He doesn't say a lit.
I've got two things on this one. First thing is, South Lincolnshire Lightning, if I remember rightly, won a game last season and then pulled out the next week. So I did not like that. However, the Humber Warhawks, you're right, have started something. They got a bit stronger in 2019. Then in 2021,
although it did lose to Nottingley.
Yes.
I forgot about that, actually.
Yeah. And in 2021 looked a lot better. Now, yes, they're Hull. I keep getting told this. The Humber is the river in Hull, if I'm correct. I worked down there for a while, and there are a lot of big lads work on some of the sites down there. If they can tap into just a little bit of that, then they should be pretty decent. They look like they're doing the right stuff again. Another team that's doing the right things, and they are a little bit isolated. They don't have any teams in the immediate vicinity. So they have the chance to build a decent side there, and I think they'll win this one. Number one in all typos. The next one we have is the Inverclyde Goliaths versus the Northumberland Vikings. Chris, take this one away.
Yeah, I mean, we got to watch, I don't know if any of you tuned in, but I watched the Northumberland Vikings on their trip over to Iceland. And traditionally what we've seen from the Vikings is that their defense has been really solid and the offense has kind of never really backed it up. And I think the most pleasing thing for the Vikings was their offense looked really good. The passing game, the running game, I was really impressed by how the offense looked. It was exciting to watch. A lot of deep passes as well. And I think they'll really be pleased about that. On the flip side, their defense got beat on deep balls a lot. And I was really surprised by that because, Sean, we've either played or watched the Vikings, and that just never happened to them. So I was a little bit surprised by that, to be honest. But they've now also had a game, so a lot of that first game rust will be off. I think I don't know if it wasn't just them, but I'm sure they had issues long snaps for punts as well.
Yeah,
So. But they've got that mistakes out the way now. So they're coming into this game, having played a game, having really had a chance to iron out some of those mistakes. And not to mention that, their goal has to be promotion. They have to be aiming for promotion this year. They got into the playoffs after winning the division and then lost to Sandwell, who then went on to get promoted. But their aim has to be promotion. So this is a statement game for them. They're coming in against the Goliaths, who entered the league in 2019, won the division and got promoted straight away. They looked really good last year. Last year, they struggled with the Pirates and they struggled with the Wolves. That's not a criticism. They struggled with the Pirates and they struggled with the Wolves, but they absolutely obliterated the Glasgow Tigers. So, where are they at? The Pirates seemed to make a leap last year. And them and Northumberland were obviously very close the year before. So you would expect Northumberland to win this game. But they are travelling to Inverclyde. Inverclyde obviously are going to be a bit buoyed by their win against Glasgow last year. But I think if the offense for Northumberland looks as good as it did the other week, I think they'll win this comfortably.
Yeah, well, what we have to remember here is that the Inverclyde team in Division 2 were extremely physical and basically just ran over teams in the end. Even in the final against the Halton Spartans in the second half, they just ran all over them. But and this is where it's going to come down to it for me is the Northumberland Vikings offensive line is huge. Like, it's massive. It was missing players in Iceland, and it is a big offensive line. If they can move the ball constantly, they're going to win the game easy. But again, the Inverclyde Goliaths are known for being physical. So for the first half, the Goliaths are going to be fresh. They might give them a challenge, might stand up to that big physicality. And if they do, if they can throw a few deep balls over that Northumberland defense, then do we start to see a worry? Really, I think Northumberland win this by like 3 or 4 scores, but I expect Inverclyde to put up a fight from the word go. I don't expect them to be rolling over by any stretch of the imagination. And these guys are big and physical guys as well. So one thing, the Northumberland, I think Inverclyde might be able to run the ball, and I don't think their defensive line is as good as it has been. And I say the secondary looked like wasn't as strong as it has been in the past. So I think Northumberland still win this one, but I think the first half isn't likely to be just a Northumberland walk in and score 5 touchdowns and walk away. I think it will be a hard-fought battle in the first half, and then the second half will be where Northumberland just take over. Craig, I'm just going to put my light on.
Yeah, just to back up what you've been saying, really. The Goliaths are sort of like are going to have hefty elements of the West Coast Trojans, who sort of toyed with the upper echelons of the game, years ago. Northumberland have had big ideas for a number of years, even paying their head coach and all that sort of stuff. So you look at it, you think, well, Inverclyde coming up from Div 2, Northumberland toying with Prem at the top end of Div 1 and getting into the Div 1 playoffs, it should be fairly open and shut. But I agree that the Goliaths will put up a physical presence at least in the first half, which might make moving the ball tough for the Vikings. As you say, though, if that offense is clicking, then they'll get 2 or 3 scores, and then a good running game starts to creak because you're not getting enough yardage on the ground, or you're using up too much clock to get back into the game. it's a bit England, Scotland as well, isn't it? And perhaps I have to go with the Vikings. Although I like to think of myself as being trying to be impartial and all of that. But I think the Vikings will have maybe a little bit too much sort of Div 1 stroke Prem quality. If that's what they are, then I think they might have a little bit too much. But I agree, it's going to be quite a rough old ride.
Can't hear you. Sean, you pulled your headphones out. No, we've lost you. Hey! I've waited 30 years to not be able to hear you. Nah. What have you done? Right, on to the next game. The London Warriors and the Solent Thrashers. First of all, and I'm sure he won't take us the wrong way from the times I've spoke to him, but I don't know who Steve Rains has pissed off. But for his first two Prem games to be the two London teams, I mean, you've pissed somebody off. I'll tell you that much for nothing. The Solent Thrashers, massive admirer of what they do down there. They've got a really good program. One of their players that won one of our plays of the week, he's now off to Europe. And it's certainly not the first player that the Thrashers and Coach Rains have sent to Europe either. They got to play the Olympians last year, so it wasn't like this won't be their first Prem level team they've played. But the Warriors are different gravy, aren't they? I mean, like they've been different gravy for so long. But however, they did post on social media for like the first time in like 3 years, which caught me completely off guard. Maybe they listen. I don't know. Maybe they've watched the show, because that's one thing I said to them. I don't think so. No, it was about their game this weekend, and we're all caught off guard by it, because generally they don't do that, and it was nice. It was refreshing. Maybe somebody does watch and thought, maybe we should post a bit more, being sort of the premier team. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest challenge for the Warriors with the Thrashers is going to be this adjusting to the different variations of offense. I mean, they don't just run sort of that like double wing offense that they can then go into spread. And I think, that's really what the Thrashers are going to have to rely on for this game. But I think certainly in the second half of it is where you'd expect to see the Warriors really turn the screw. And I would expect the Warriors to win it. Can you hear me? Yay! Oh.
Yes. I don't know what I did there. I think I maybe leaned on it. Craig, I'll let you go next for this one.
Okay. What I'm about to say is probably a little bit coach speak, but Solent, I think Solent, I think we'll look at this in sort of like what are our wins from this game, i.e., new team in the division playing against the powerhouse away. It doesn't get, at least you're getting it out of the way at the first game, and I would say that. Obviously, Coach Rains will be looking for wins for his team, i.e., ball control, amount of yardage that they perhaps can generate, and also what they concede. I think, having played and coached against Coach Rains's, excuse me, hold on, there's the water.
It's all right. You good?
Yeah.
He's away to someone we're not gonna like.
Yeah, it's been in the force, I think, from the Warriors. Yeah. Coach Rains, I think, having coached against him, runs a ball control offense, which if they start with the ball, can start to frustrate them, much like the Exiles did, although the Exiles are quite a bit more expansive than Solent are. They've got some very good players, some a good running attack, a decent set of linemen, and some excellent receivers. I think the defense might struggle a little bit against the Warriors, but the Warriors are not a 1,000 play playbook. It's they know what they do well and they do it, and so Coach Raines will be very well prepared for them. And I think if they can give a good account of themselves more than anything else, because they're not going to target this game. Yeah, we can win that one. It's going to be the Aztecs and the teams around them rather than the likes of the Warriors. I think they'll be looking for a confidence boost and to set a marker and say, look, we're here and we're staying, so deal with it. They say, yeah, I think the numbers, the scoreboard will say that the Warriors won it, but I think the Thrashers will give a very, very good account of themselves.
Yeah, I wanted to say, Coach Raines, are you scared or are you prepared? And I think it'll be the latter. I don't think you'll be scared of them at all, but I do think, actually this is probably a good time to get the Warriors, if I'm honest. You go in, they've not played. You can go in and hopefully it takes them a bit of time to get going. You can go in there and give them a good challenge, at least for that first quarter, just to make them aware that you're there to go after them. And yeah, you score early. The Exiles managed to do that last season and then end up poking the bear. So they were up 10. They were up 10-0 in the first quarter and ended up getting thumped. So it'll be interesting to see. The Solar Thrashers have just got better each season, and even the running back that's left, I don't even think he was their first string running back. I think he was like their third string running back. Was he not, Chris? So
I don't know.
They've obviously got depth there. I expect them to be up again, but I think the London Warriors win this one. The next one includes a team. Have I got an echo, by the way?
No.
You did for a moment then.
Yeah. The next one is the Oxford Saints versus the Portsmouth Dreadnoughts. Chris?
Yikes. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what to make of this game. We've got a lot of time for the Saints. Sorry, people keep messaging me. My phone's going off. I'm trying to get rid of them. I've got a lot of time for the Oxford Saints. We spoke about their home field, and we took some pelters from them last year when we picked against them, which was all sort of in good fun. The Dreadnoughts, similar boat to Aberdeen, chose to sort of pull out of the season last year. I mean, I think from my standpoint, I think that year of playing benefits Oxford in this game. I think the fact that they played those games, even the game, who was it that were playing when they had a heap of COVID cases and they literally just travelled down with half a team and they played it anyway and gutted it out. And, I think that speaks volumes of the programme itself. And I think when you kind of look back, going into this season, I mean, even look at the results, generally speaking, a lot of the games were close, 32-12, 19-6 against Hertfordshire and, 16-12 against the Blitz B. They're a decent side, Oxford. And I think playing last year will be the difference between these two teams, and I believe the Saints will win.
Yeah, and I seen a social media post from the Oxford Saints yesterday, and their squad has grown substantially. But the one thing that Oxford need to improve on, red zone turnovers.
Oh my word!
If they don't turn the ball over in the red zone like they did last year, they'll fare much better. And I think that hopefully they'll have worked on that.
I mean, I think the thing is, sorry to interrupt you, but I think the thing you speak about that, and it's a good point, because how many times did we see them in the red zone? And you're talking about games that they maybe didn't score that many points, but they were in the red zone tons and turned the ball over. And it's like a double whammy, isn't it? Like, they were clearly capable of driving the ball, but they just seemed to just give it away in the red zone. So yeah, absolutely. Apologies for interrupting, but that was a huge point, and I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, I think Portsmouth, they'll be on the case of. I think they'll be in the same place as the Roughnecks, if I'm honest. I think you're right there. I think they will have come back. They'll have built their squad again, and they'll try and compete in the division. But I think Oxford will have too much for them here. If they've improved in the red zone, even just a slightest little bit, I think they'll win this one. Coach?
Well, this is a critical season for Portsmouth in my mind. They started the season, didn't they? I think, and got a couple of slaps and decided that it wasn't for them, which is fair enough. So they have got to. They've had a long time to build, and if they are to compete, I mean, I would have said in 2019. This game, I mean, I think the Dreadnoughts did the double over them, but they would have gone down and just bashed them up. They're some very strong players, particularly on defence. Good OC Dave Gibbs, who can call the plays to score. They are very much an unknown quantity. I'm looking forward to getting the film off of Oxford when they play them, actually. So just so I can see what Portsmouth are actually doing this season. Oxford, as you say, I saw that media post as well, that they've built up their squad. One of the nicest clubs in the country. They're really great bunch of guys who are playing the game for the right reasons, and they obviously look a lot faster on their own home turf because it's 4G. I think they probably just have a little bit too much. But it's going to be a bit of a worry with the Dreadnoughts how they get through the season. To be honest with you, I'm a bit concerned. But the Saints, I think, are built to last. I mean, they got through. Did they win a game last season? I can't remember. They apologies to them if they did. But they always competed. They spent most of the fourth quarter against us in the first game in the red zone, and the second game they only fell away really once we got on top of them. But they're always there, and so they keep fighting. So I think the Saints will win this.
Yeah, and I'm just going to poke a little fun at the Saints here. Is that see what happens when you update all your stuff so it's more fresh looking. New kit, new website, new logo, like all that kind of stuff. It makes a difference.
I mean, I can't say anything really because every time I see their pitch, it just makes me jealous about the fact I have no working knees because I played 6 years on a hill. So
yeah, it is. It's nice.
Craig, I wish that was a joke. The pitch was genuinely like that.
Was it? Oh dear.
one leg longer than the other.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The next game's actually probably going to be a belter as well, purely because last year they split the series. The Bournemouth Bobcats were definitely the surprise team of the year. We voted for that as well, I think, Chris. They were a surprise team of the year last year. And now the Bournemouth Unis went on and they've won a Division 2 championship at uni level. Obviously, there's something building there. There's something decent going on, and that could really do them wonders. Rushmore, I I thought they were going to be really good last year, having come down from the Prem and maybe rebuild their squad and really kick on. But all credit to Bournemouth last year. They really put up a fight. I actually think Bournemouth might nick this one. Although Rushmore's at home, I think that last game against them maybe give Bournemouth a bit of confidence, and they'll maybe just nick this one. Craig?
Yeah. Given well,
we were talking about this.
Don's only watching just to keep an eye on me. He's my head coach. Rushmore, I think, were a bit of an unknown quantity last year, and it may well be how many of the band they can get back together from when they were in Prem. In order to play a competitive season again, maybe that some of the players looked at it and thought, "No, I'll give that one a miss this year." But so I really don't know anything about them at all. They've rather gone under the radar. Bournemouth, as I was saying to Russ today, I considered Bournemouth at the moment to be our strongest threat. Until I see different, I think they have come on in leaps and bounds. So they've got Coach Rains coaching the uni team, aided and abetted by one of our former stalwarts and chairman, Luke Clark. So that's going to create momentum. That's going to create players coming over and say, "Yeah, I'm so good at this. I'm going to have a go at the summer game as well." And so they come across and they find out just how much harder it is. That will gain players. I remember speaking to the head coach years ago, and he said we always struggle to get good players around here. So, we get guys. They turn up and they're good lads, but we just don't have the athletes. It may be that they get one or two athletes this time. And again, there'll be another one. I'll be very intrigued to see the film of them, to see, because if I remember last year, they ran a fair bit of heavy personnel, 22, which is, not easy to deal with. And I honestly don't know with this one. It depends which nights turns up. If the good one turns up, then they should have far too much for Bournemouth, but because they've got some good players. But if they're still reeling a little bit from last year, then Bournemouth are feisty enough to have a go and maybe take it. I'm going to go with the home team though this time, because I think that Rushmore will want to start off on the right foot.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the thing. I mean, I can't say for sure. Obviously, there's an element of speculation in it, but I do feel like the Rushmore Knights were a victim of guys going, I just don't fancy a non-contested COVID season, because you look at them at the start of the season and they looked really strong, and then they just kind of fell apart at the end of it. We're being told they were basically going into games and they weren't punting. So, like, they were on 4th and 18 on their own 3-yard line, and they were still running a play, and you're just like, it just sounded like they just gave up. And I think, you look at the first meeting between Rushmore and Bournemouth, and it was 31-8 to Rushmore. And I think that's what made it such a surprise when the flip fixture a few weeks later was 27-6, and you're going, how does that happen in just a few weeks? Like, you know what I mean? It's just, not in our game. It doesn't happen very often, like generally there's a pattern to these things, but I don't know. I do want to say Bournemouth, because I think they did a lot of good things last year, and with the university, that was weird, with the university team doing so well and getting some players from that as well. But I think if Rushmore have got all their guys back and ready to go for this season, I think they're going to have too much. I think it'll be close, but I do think Rushmore will win the game.
Yeah, well, Bournemouth are in my top quality coaching. Bournemouth, I have Bournemouth as 10th in my rankings, so they've got that at stake. If they lose to Rushmore, then they'll be quickly removed. The next one is a yikes moment, I think. I think this one will be quick and swift. Craig, I'll let you go first on this one, because I can only see one choice coming out of this.
Yeah, I'm friends with former Steelers coaches and players on Twitter, and I wish them the very best of luck. They've had a lot of turmoil to deal with over the last couple of years. I'd love to be able to see that they've managed to turn around, because they were a good side in 2019. They deserved all the success that they got, and I would love to see them put a fight up against the Titans. But the Titans just have hordes of players. I think they were just overwhelmed Stanwell, I'm afraid, and they're a good side. They're a quality side. I am very intrigued to see how far they go this season, because this could be the moment for them. But so unfortunately, the Steelers are going to get caught in the crossfire this week. It's Titans for me.
Chris?
Yeah, I mean, likewise, I really hope Sandwell have regained some of their former strength. It's not going to matter.
No.
It's not going to matter this week. The Manchester Titans will win.
Yeah, even the strongest Sandwell team from 2019 wouldn't get close to this Manchester team. They've recruited again. Like, Manchester have managed to recruit again. Now, I know there's been some hoo-ha on social media about their B team, but like, in reality, we're not here to talk about them. We're here to talk about the Titans, and the Titans are a very, very solid football team right now. They have our MVP from last season, Sam Bloomfield, at their QB. He's sponsored this year. And I think if he's leading that behind what I believe is a monstrous O-line with plenty of replacements, then I think they're going to walk away with this one in the first half. It'll be a rolling clock very quick. But again, Sam will just need to stick in there. If it's Manchester, the only thing I will say is that if they are up big points at halftime, rotate your squad. Like, didn't just leave your starters out and thump them. I know you want to make a statement, but nobody's expecting Sandwell to come out here and win this game. So it'd be good for you to get your secondary players and leave the big ones for the Tamworth game the week after. So yeah, it's a Manchester win from me. I've got 2 comments here. Make sure that I'm not hacking anyone off. Craig's fine with that one. You guys are calling us monstrous. Is
in
it
a good
monstrous?
way? Yeah, in a good way. Like, we're meaning you've got absolute athletes on that offensive line, and they're big dudes. I wouldn't see over them. You know what I mean? That's kind of the worst part as well. I mean, it's one of those. But
Craig's picture's class. It looks like someone's just shouted from the sidelines. O-line, food's up.
Yeah, pizza.
Somebody smelled the barbecue.
It's kind. They're a different class, and one of the things we'll do at the end is a predictions thing. So I'll leave that to the end. Next one, Shropshire Revolution versus Halton Spurns. Now I know fine well Shropshire are hacked off at me for leaving them out the rankings, and quite frankly, I may have made a little error there. However, there is a tough choice in Division 1, and Shropshire did play well last year. They played really well the year before. Made the quarterfinals of the Division 1, and they're another team that good coaching team, class outfits. They have a decent squad, and I think that they'll be way too much for Halton. My question is, how do they do against the tougher teams in Division 1? I know they had a really close game against Leicester, but that was not the Leicester Falcons we are used to. But I think they'll be way too much for Halton. Craig?
Yeah, I think this is fairly clear. Halton decided to withdraw last season. Again, how have they rebounded from that? They had quite a fair number of coaching changes as well, which obviously isn't great for continuity. But yeah, I can only, as you say, the Revolution were a very, very decent side last year, and I love watching their offense. It's exciting to watch. So I think they'll put some points up. I think they'll win that fairly comfortably.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, obviously similar to Portsmouth, Halton have kind of done the honourable thing, I guess. They've chosen to stay in Division 1 despite pulling out last year. But as we spoke about earlier, the second year could be the telling sign for a lot of teams. So I hope teams doing that haven't signed their own death sentence either. By try to show up, but we can do it. And one thing that Halton have done since the minute they pulled out of the league is they've recruited the arse off of it. Their social media has been constant. They've been really going after players. And I hope they succeed. I really do. I hate seeing what's happened to any team, and I really hope to do. Shropshire, yeah, I mean, I understand why Shropshire are hacked off. I mean, I like the Revolution, I really do. They had some good games last year. They were very low scoring early in the season. It did not put up a whole lot of points. I mean, even when you sort of looking at it now, it was. Yeah, I believe it was called. It was probably called early actually, but it was 6-0 against the Surge, and then 14-6 against the Surge, and 13-0 against the Steelers, and then they came out and put 56 on Crew, and then 34 on Steelers. So I don't know. I guess I want to see more from them before we say they're one of the top 10 teams in Division 1, and they may well be, and it's more of a compliment to how good some of the Division 1 teams are. There's a lot of good teams in that division. And there's some that, they probably are Prem ready. And there's some that, even though they're not, they're still light years ahead of Division 2 teams as well. So it's not necessarily as much of an insult as I think they might take it to not be considered currently in the top 10 in Division 1. But I understand their
Or
grievance as
they took it
well.
as an insult. They
You
did
know,
not
I
like
mean,
it.
I can understand their grievance as well, but go and show us something. Yeah, the
And it's
game against Leicester, they played well, but go and show us something, because I still feel like the offense just wasn't as explosive as it needs to be. You know, the defense did look good, but go and show us something this year. You know, show that you deserve to be in that top 10. And the thing is, if they go out and show that, then we're going to have no hesitations putting them in it either, because they're on the cusp, right? So, yeah, I would like to see them that really show us something that warrants them being in there.
Yeah, and it's not going to be this week. But yeah, they can show this at some point this season that they are capable of that. But yeah, as I say, against some of the tougher Division 1 teams, that's where we need to shine. Next game has some interest from our guest tonight. So I actually think this might be a good game, Craig. South Wales Warriors versus Hertfordshire Cheetahs. Chris, I'll let you go first in this one. We'll leave Craig to the middle.
Is this your first international game, Craig?
Yes, yeah. We've got all our passports in order, and the border checks should be fine.
So if they've got any sense on the Welsh border, they won't let you in. Yeah, I mean, I mean, this is one of those in that the South Wales Warriors, you know, won Division 2 and got promoted in 2019. You know, they looked pretty damn good in the process after, you know, a couple of years of utter turmoil. You know, and I think last year, like, I mean, they got given a, you know, a fairly tough division. You know, they had the Birmingham Bulls and you know, and obviously they had the Bristol Aztecs in it. But again, I just didn't see enough from South Wales. You know, they lost to the Bulls, and we've long said that the Bulls were a Division 1 ready team. I mean, we knew that going in, and I'm glad they've been promoted as well. But you know, even against Hereford, you know, 22-12 and 12-0 against Swindon and 28-0 against the Sauce. I didn't see enough from them. I didn't see enough from them. And I think, you know, they've got a really tough division this year. And I think as far as openers go for that division, they've been given arguably the toughest. So I think it, you know, the advantage being is obviously that they're at home. And I'm fairly confident there's a pretty long bus journey for the Cheetahs. Am I correct?
You are. You will see the bus that we are going on tomorrow. It is the Battlestar Galactica of coaches. Our head coach is a very nice man, and he's sorted out this thing. It's a tower block on wheels. So yeah, we will be well rested by the time we get to Glenaren.
So I think,
if I said that right, our physio is Welsh, Rachel. She's Welsh, and we were going to have her interned as a security threat, but we decided that she might be better served as a translator. So when they start talking amongst themselves and calling us all sorts of names in Welsh, then she'll be able to alert us to that. But we've seen film. We've got film because we played Birmingham recently in a pre-season, and let's just say if they are who we think they are, then we're fairly confident. Obviously they're a good bunch, and they'll put a fight up. But I'm fairly sure we've got the tools to. Obviously, if we play well, if we don't play well, then we run the risk. But if we play to the best of our ability, I think we should take that one. But I would say that
just at all accounts, tell your quarterback to keep his head on a swivel at all times. That's all I'm going to say.
Or Portsmouth will tell you, Martin Brown is not the person to try to attack blindside because he turns and faces you.
Lower the shoulder.
I hope that's not a challenge to South Wales, by the way. But we'll be okay.
I mean, as I say, so South Wales are a decent team, but I think I expect Hertfordshire to win. I really do.
I'm the same. Like, I think South Wales defense was a different class in Division 2 in 2019. Got promoted, and then they've come up against some tougher teams last year. And again, I don't think they have the offense to trouble you guys. Again, if your offense starts off firing, then I think this one could be a decent game for Hertfordshire to start off with. So Hertfordshire for me. Next one, Sussex Thunder versus Wembley Stallions. Now the biggest question here is, of course, are we going to get Sussex Thunder from 2019 or are we getting Sussex Thunder from 2021? And in reality, if we get Sussex Thunder from 2019, then they will end up back in my power rankings quicker than anybody else. But if Wembley are as good as they were for the start of last season and for most of the season last year, then I don't think they're going to make it easy for Sussex. And you know this, the biggest thing that they have going for them is it's the first game, it's at home at Wembley. They've got to travel there. Wembley, good at running the ball, stout defense. So it's going to be certainly interesting to see which Sussex Thunder we get. And I say, if we get the good one, then I think they might win this game. If they haven't got back to that level and if they're still having issues, then I think Wembley will be tough enough to stay out. I've got Wembley in my ranking, so I'm going to choose Wembley, but I think this one will be by points, singular points, not by many. Craig?
Well, this is the clash of two great personalities of Britball, in Ian Ellis in his last lap round, and Warren Smart. We've faced both of these teams obviously in recent years and sort of split the games with them. Wembley obviously are more consistent, more stable. They've got a fairly straightforward offense. They like to run the ball. They've got pretty good defense. They pursue to the ball well. Sussex did have some athletes. They really did. The quarterback was a running threat on every down, and they had a couple of very, very good receivers who would catch the ball in all sorts of situations.
85.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah, small in stature, big in statistics. I would imagine we tried to double team him and didn't do a very good job of it, fortunately. But we got to the QB instead, at least in the away game anyway. But if Sussex turn up with their 2019 team or something along those lines, I think they probably will have a little bit too much offensively. But they are a largely unknown quantity. Only they will know. They might be sitting with little grins on their faces, thinking, "Oh, wait till we show them on Sunday." It's quite a tasty game. I think it'll be quite a hard fought game. Actually, I think. There's a lot of unknowns. I'm going to go with Wembley because I think I know a bit more about them in terms of what they are recently. They've got a big squad. They're not fighting for numbers at all. So they will come in and be able to put a good show on right from the off. Whereas we just don't know enough about Sussex at the moment.
Okay, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you've both kind of said the same thing I'm going to say. What Sussex are we getting now? I admire what Sussex tried to do last year. Right, we've long been a supporter of the B team over a new team popping up somewhere. I admire what they tried to do. It was the wrong time to do it, but I agree with what they tried to do. So it was sad to see everything kind of just collapse in itself the way it did. I think that will make it hard for Sussex to rebound from. But we all know that if the 29 iteration of Sussex is about, they're an extremely talented and good team, right? So if they win this game on Sunday, I'm not surprised. However, I believe Wembley will win it. They started the season really strong last year, and I'm going to give a shout out to one of our players of last year, and I think this game's going to come down to special teams. And our man Samuel Fraser is going to have a big impact on this game. And I think special teams will be a factor in this game. And I think Wembley will win the game. The scoreline, I don't know. I just don't know what to expect from Sussex. And as I say, I don't want somebody coming back to us next week if Sussex win and going, "You said we were going to lose." they might well win this game, and it wouldn't catch me off guard. But yeah, I think Wembley will win. I'll pick Wembley to win this week.
Yeah, 3 Wembley choices. I don't know if Wembley have a youngster that posts on our Instagram quite a lot, and he is very good. And I don't know if he's still a Wembley youngster or if he's old enough to go into the senior team. If he's in the senior team, then he's talented.
I don't think he is, because I think he was the youngest age group. So if anything, he'll have moved up to the juniors. I never understand which ones. Yeah, I never understand which ones.
Under 16. Juniors is under 19.
There we go.
Before we go any further, first one of the year, and we've been junked.
Hey, at least there wasn't somebody saying send us nudes. You know, that's the last thing they need.
We've got 3 games to go, and then a little bit at the end. So last 3 games here. This one should be an easy one. So this is Swindon Storm versus the Sauce. Chris, I'll let you go first because you like the sauce. I'm not saying it. Don't get it wrong.
Where's the Shirey? Yeah, and we actually spoke. Last season was one of those things where it was actually quite beneficial for teams like Swindon, because we probably talked in a lot more detail on the Storm than we normally would. Just because how the leagues were going and stuff, and there was more time to talk about them. I always find them quite difficult, though, because, as we said, historically, when they played the teams that they should beat, they beat them comfortably. And when they played the teams that they should get beat by, they got pummeled. And I found that really odd. Like, normally there's some sort of middle ground, like your club. It was really split down the middle, and they played the Sauce twice last year and pummeled them. So, they looked probably a bit better. They have a good game against the Bulls. They were quite close with the South Wales Warriors. Then they tied with the Bulls at the end of the season, 30-all, which was unbelievable, by the way. I remember watching it, and I think the Bulls tied it up with like the last play of the game or something. So maybe this is Swindon turning a corner. And if they can build on that, I think they should win the game comfortably, especially with, I don't know how far Worcestershire and Swindon are from each other, but they are the home team. They toppled them twice easily last year, and I expect them to win this game. Yeah, and maybe that's the push to maybe start going towards being a playoff team.
Swindon Storm are the Andy Dalton line of Division 2. That's the best way to describe them. They will always.
Maybe the Andy Dalton line from like 6 years ago when he was the Andy Dalton, not the current Andy Dalton, because that's harsh.
No, the Andy Dalton line, I think it's the golf line they call it now. But the Andy Dalton line, I think they'll beat the Sauce. They'll beat them, but again, I think they'll struggle against some of the bigger teams. But this week, I think they'll win easy. Craig.
Yeah, Worcestershire, as they're known, they have stumbled along regrettably for a few seasons now, pulling out of playoffs and sort of generally not quite staying around enough. I think Swindon are a much more solid club compared to the Black Knights. They've tried to recruit. I hope they've been successful. They've tried to recruit kids to build some continuity through squads, and that's starting, I think, to take hold. It's obviously a process. You can't turn this round in 1 or 2 seasons. And I think Swindon should win this. They need this season really just to sort of reevaluate where they are, and hopefully in a positive sense that they have started to kick on and will start to make a run at the playoffs. I think they'll win this one to start with, purely because they'll probably have more players.
Yeah. 3 votes for Swindon. Second last game, Torbay Trojans versus Bristol Apache. Chris?
Well, Torbay were easily one of my biggest misses last year by a long way. I had their ceiling at potentially 8-0, and they went 0-8 and got pummeled in every game they played.
It's very bold of you to
Yes.
remind us.
Listen, I will always own my mistakes. Okay,
Yeah,
I will
fair play,
always
yeah.
own up to it. I will get some of these things wrong. However, with you guys, I said floor at 6-2 and ceiling at 8-0, and you went 7-1. So you crushed it right in the middle there for me, which was great. But yeah, I mean, I swung and missed hard on the Torby Trojans last year, and that is not turned around quickly. I believe they lost quite a few bodies to the Cornwall Monarchs, and their swanky new purple unis. But yeah, Bristol always surprises me because look at the university teams around Bristol. There is so much talent in Bristol; it's unbelievable, and I'm always curious why the Aztecs aren't challenging the London teams because there's so much university talent down there, right? Um, and obviously, naturally, with that, the Apache are good. They're a good football side. And they're in the same division as they were last year, and you'd expect them to win it again this year. How much have Torby recovered over the gap? I don't know, but it's not going to be enough. Hopefully they've kind of regrouped a little bit, but it's not going to be enough.
No, Craig.
The reason why the Bristol UWE has not contributed to the Aztecs that much is one, they're relatively recent, and a lot of their players are either touring Europe or they buggered off back to the States on a jet plane. So yeah, they do like to get. They've got a few scholarships. So Filton is a bit different because those kids are coming through and would probably benefit from playing Div 2 football as they start to mature physically. And yeah, as you say, Bristol are a good solid side. Tend to be a bit streaky. Will lose a couple of games that will suddenly peg them back from playoff contention, and then they'll win another couple and get back, and then sort of ultimately sort of just sort of hang around the cusp a little bit. I mean, sometimes they end up with teams that are outright, the kings of that division are going to get promoted regardless. So, but I think they'll be far too strong for Torbay. Yes, you've got that little Bermuda Triangle of Torbay, Cornwall, and around that area where they tend to, it used to be Jurassic Coast, obviously not anymore, but maybe they picked some people up there. Sorry, bad memories and all that, but they might well be picking up people from that. But I think Bristol are just too established. I think they'll beat them quite comfortably, I think.
Yeah, I think the same. Bristol have got too much around them, and last year they looked to look too comfortable in that division outside of Somerset, and I think they'll be way too much. Good night out in Bristol as well. I've had some cracking nights out there. Last game of the evening, and I've just realised the order I've put these in are alphabetical order, which is why this game is last. So
wait a minute, there's definitely one missing.
No, there's not.
I thought Crew were playing Lee this week.
I don't think that's this week, is it?
Is it not?
You can search it while I talk about this one.
I think it was in the list you sent me.
You can check.
Chris.
So the Yorkshire Rams versus Glasgow Tigers is the last game for the week. Now, the Yorkshire Rams, again, coach of the year for us last year, have now had the Leeds Bobcats merge with them, have the Northeast Academy or whatever I think it's called that in the area. They are doing the right things. They've obviously got their university team as well. For me, they could only get stronger this season. They will have benefited massively from beating the Sheffield Giants last year. They will have benefited massively for that. Now, I know it was 2021, it was a COVID season, etc., and Sheffield maybe didn't have all their players available or whatever, but they still beat them. Folks still took notice of that, and that'll be a massive boost for Yorkshire recruiting. Now, can they go and challenge the East Kilbride Pirates and Northumberland Vikings? I can't see why not. I think if they have managed to progress and start putting together some more players in that team, they will be a big physical squad this year, I reckon. They've actually been relatively quiet. Like, I tried looking at some of their stuff, and they have actually been quite quiet, but it looks like they've done all the right stuff. And even if they get 2 or 3 gems from the Leeds team, that might help their squad just go to the next level. And I think that'll be good. I expect them to beat Glasgow. And I don't think it's going to be close. I think they'll win by at least 3 scores. Craig?
Yes, yeah, the Rams have been slowly building. Well, actually, no, they haven't been slowly building. They've been rapidly building a very formidable program up there. It's, and in conjunction, I mean, we've been the benefit of Hertfordshire University. It's an absolute conveyor belt. If you can get it going, it's great. You've got these lads who are keen as mustard. They're fit. They understand the game, to a large extent. Obviously, they don't know your scheme very well, but you can almost plug and play them. And so it really does help. I mean, obviously, you've got the double wing that Leeds Beckett run is perhaps a little bit at odds with what anyone else would possibly run. But the Rams, I think, are really there's someone to keep an eye on. I think this season, because they could really have a bit of a run at this. I think against Glasgow, I don't know a great deal about Glasgow. Unfortunately, I'm sure they, much like some of the other teams in London and the South East, rather fall under the sphere of influence of larger teams, and perhaps find it a little bit difficult to compete. But so I would say the Rams would win this. But I'm sure the Tigers will put up quite a struggle.
Yeah, I think I don't know how big the Tigers squad is, but they have 7 captains. So I'm hoping it's big enough to justify that, because that's quite a lot. Now, I did see, before I let Chris talk about this, I did see someone post up about team captain post this week. It's saying, oh, it's not necessary. No, it is necessary, purely because anything to grow the game is a positive. Anything. So understand that folk are like, oh, we don't need to know who these people's captains are. It doesn't matter. It's not for you. It's to grow the game. It's to get people in their local area.
I don't agree with that statement anyway. Like, if you don't want to know who his team captains are, don't look. Right? Like,
don't follow them.
No, I mean, like, it's just like me going onto the Hertfordshire page and going, I can't believe they posted about their scrimmage this week. I don't care. All right, but I shouldn't. Why am I looking at it then if I don't care? Like, it just, I don't understand that standpoint. 2 things. First of all, according to social media and League Republic, there's 2 games we haven't spoken about.
Oh.
And the first one is a double header because, well, it is part of a double header because it's the London Blitz against the London Olympians, and the other one is the Lee Miners and Crew Railroaders. The fixtures seems to be kind of inconsistent. Anywho, this game here, we're big fans of the Yorkshire Rams. Their head coach was our coach of the year last year. He did a good job with Leeds Beckett this year as well. Because the other one's the Leeds Griffins. I definitely didn't want to get those 2 mixed up. Have people after me. So, the Rams looked really good last year. The Tigers didn't. And, I think that's kind of telling, I appreciate there's difficulty in comparing last year to this year and et cetera. But I think, Glasgow had a really tight game against the Edinburgh Wolves, which ultimately technically cost the Wolves the division on points against or something like that. But they got absolutely floored by the Goliaths. And I think Glasgow could be in trouble this year. I hope not. I've played the Tigers a lot, and I know I'm not their most popular guy for whatever reason. I don't actually know because I've never spoken to most of them, but I know I'm not exactly popular down that there every time we've played them. But I think they could be in for difficult times this year, and I think the Rams should win this quite comfortably.
Okay, 3 selections for the Rams there. Okay, so next one. London Blitz versus London Olympians. Chris, you go first.
Yeah, I mean, massive game, isn't it? So important. We missed it off the list. To be fair, I mean, I've looked at a couple of lists and they're different, so I'm just going what's on the League Republic anyway. But yeah, I mean, the Blitz impressed me last year. And I know that's going to sound really condescending, and they probably do not care what I have to say about them. But I think the thing of it for me was that they there was a massive gap between them and the Warriors in 2019. Right, it was a huge gap. I mean, they got scudded like what 50-0 or 50-7. I mean, and I distinctly remember saying before the season started that I did not see any way they could close that gap in a year. I just didn't think they could. I just didn't think it was possible. I felt it was just too much of a difference. And I was wrong. I mean, they were a lot better last year. They gave the Blitz, they gave the Warriors a scare at one point. This was the second game. They struggled
one
to
got
get
called
past.
off, didn't it? One
But
got
I
called
thought it
off
got
due to
replayed.
COVID or something. Yeah. I think they only played the one game, didn't they?
Was it? But they fought two tight games with Kent Exiles. That was 28-25 to the London Warriors. I've just got it up now, and like to go from how badly they got beat in 2019 to making a game of it, I was like, all right, so maybe the Blitz are back, right? Maybe we're talking about an actual two-team race now. Like before, it wasn't. The season before, it was just one team away from everyone. And yeah, they only played the Olympians once as well, and they beat them quite handily. We know the Olympians are a strong team, but if we see last year's rendition of the Blitz as opposed to the 2019 version of the Blitz, we might be in for a good season from them. So I believe the Blitz should win this game. It's a double header, so the Blitz are going to be out before them. So if they get a good win, that's obviously, that's still going to buoy up the A team for their game as well. So, I think the Blitz will win. I think it'll be tighter than 36-0, but at the same time, as I say, the Blitz looked good last year, so hopefully they're as good this year.
Yeah, Craig?
Yeah, I believe, if I remember rightly, the Blitz advertised for an OC a few months ago, so that might influence things. Obviously, he's going to change how they attack teams. I agree. As far as the Blitz are concerned, I think that was a huge turnaround, a very surprising. Obviously, with those two clubs, the Warriors and the Blitz, you have to sometimes take into account how many guys have they lost to Germany and other leagues around Europe because they're good enough to have a go, and they do fancy having a go. So you can have. The Warriors, when they didn't get into Britball one year, lost quite a number of players to Germany. And this ELF is going to be quite a draw for some of them. So it depends which Blitz turns up. If it's the one like last year, I think we could be in for a good season from them. The Olympians, I've got a lot of time for the Olympians coaches. I talk to them on Twitter. They're very good at, very keen to share knowledge. They've got this share knowledge thing that they're doing to help coaches learn more about the game. And they've had some tremendous people speaking on there. So they're doing the right things. They've tried, obviously, tried to recruit heavily as well. So it's obviously going to be a long time before they can get back to the old glories of the 80s, if they are able to achieve that. I think the Blitz will win that. The Olympians will. I think they'll be looking a bit of a similar situation as Solent. Will be looking for other things other than scoreboard. I think they'll be looking to see how they compete physically, and they compete, in terms of discipline with the Blitz, and if they can keep it close for as long as possible, things could get interesting. I think they're capable of doing that. I think they've got the team to do it, but I think ultimately the Blitz will come out on top on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I think I echo what you guys have said. I think even if they're the team that they were the last game of the season last year, I think the Blitz will have too much for the Olympians. I can only really see this game going one way, so it's the Blitz for me. Chris, you want to go first on this last one for some reason?
I want this game, and I want this game first because, believe it or not, we're in week 1 of the BAFA National League season, and it's a playoff implication game straight out the bat. This is a playoff implication game because this division has 3 teams in it, and 2 of them are going to the playoffs, right?
Wow.
So because there's now 4 conferences, there's 2 teams from each division going to the playoffs, and with Morecambe Bay pulling out, as we said we would come to later, this game has legitimate playoff implications on it. Because if one of these teams comes out and annihilates the other one, you're going to have to assume they're pretty much there already, right? Because they would be feeling pretty confident about beating them the rest of the way. You know, so if a team wins this game 40-0, they're pretty much in the playoffs. You know, like realistically, the B.
If you don't know,
quality joke.
If you don't know what that's about, I'll tell you in a minute.
So we are literally in week 1 now. Because the Thunderbolts pulled out, the Berkshire Renegades got moved a division, so it was 2 4s rather than a 5 and a 3. But nothing was done about the NFC 2 West, probably because it was so late in the day, right? That's not me having a jibe at BAFA saying you didn't do enough. Probably because it was so late in the day. And this is amazing for me because the Crew Railroaders, I mean, literally got thrown to the wolves last year. It was like, oh, here you go. Have some Tamworth Phoenix for banter. You know, have a bit of the Leicester Falcons just for good measure. You know, they fared well in the respect that they played almost all their games. Again, the minute I gave them praise, they pulled out of one. But to be quite frank, I was amazed they even made it that far because their opponents were formidable, right? No insult to them, their opponents were just formidable. You know, the Lee Miners were one of those teams that kind of came in and got their associate season out of the way. You know, they took the lead against the Lancashire Wolverines and then shipped like 70 points over the rest of the game. But, you know, they took the lead, and obviously they were the team that was on the end of an absolute scudding from the Chester Romans. Because apparently quite a few of their players were in the pub, if you believe what you read. So you're talking about an associate team in their first year in the league, and a team that has I mean, in recent history hasn't been over 500, and realistically, they could set their path onto the playoffs this week. Yeah. And what more motivation do you need? If you cannot get yourself motivated for that, I can't help you, right? You know, these guys have got to be motivated for this game. Because if you win, you know, yes, I appreciate if you win this game in a squeaker, you know, you're not feeling the same way. But if one team comes out and absolutely batters the other, you've got to be up for this, right? I can't be the only one thinking you have to be up for this game. So this is quite a big game, and genuine playoff implications in week 1, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, and what Aaron's, I believe, is speaking about here is, I believe there was something earlier in the week that a lot of the Manchester B team have left to go to Lee. Because of a situation at Manchester that I know nothing about and won't comment on. But I believe that quite a lot of players were disgruntled in the B team and have all left to go to Lee Miners because they're nearby. So the Lee Miners may have gained a bunch of players last minute from the Manchester B team. And you'd like to think that even the Manchester B team would have some decent players in it. So it might just bolster up Lee Miners' depth chart. But the thing is, I don't think it's going to make a difference to week 1. And that's why I think the Crew Railroaders are in this one. I think that they'll have enough to win this week. Do Lee get stronger as that players get integrated? Yeah, possibly. But I think Crew will take this one. Craig?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, I was shocked to the core that we weren't moved into that division to make up the alignment, given BAFA's form with their geographical.
You've got Aberdeen, haven't you heard? You're coming up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, local derby. Yeah, I was amazed, and cheered by Crew Railroaders, who were, I don't know if you guys have seen Cool Hand Luke, the old film where Paul Newman keeps getting knocked down to the floor and they keep telling him to give up, and he's had his face smashed in, he keeps getting up and going back for more. And the crew just did that. They just kept standing up. It just until they couldn't stand up anymore. And they deserved an award for that, for that spirit of the game. You know, in a season of sort of like forfeits and sort of like rather tenuous COVID cases, some on occasion, they really stood up. And I would like to think they will have a little bit too much savvy for what is essentially a rookie team. I mean, yeah, okay, they may be buoyed. I'm sure they'll be buoyed by having Lee will be buoyed by having Manchester Bees in their team, but it may be they might be just squad fillers. If it's a political thing where somebody has upset somebody else, then that doesn't necessarily mean that the quality is going to shift to one side or the other. So, but I think Crew will have too much for them.
I mean, I realised in my excitement I didn't actually pick a winner for this game.
Excused.
Yeah, I got carried away. We're already in that time of year where it's important games. Yeah, I love it. I mean, both these teams, Lee Miners kind of got a baptism by fire, and Crew. Crew. It was just so poor the league they ended up in. But I did see they had a preseason scrimmage with the Manchester Titans, so maybe they've already seen some of the players that they're going to be playing against this week. I don't know if they got any of the B team guys, but yeah, I mean, I'd like to think the experience of Crew is going to be the telltale thing here. And as I say, they've got a chance to make a statement here, so I expect the Crew season to stay on track.
Hey, see what he did there.
Right, so that's all the games. Now Chris wants to do this before I tell you about Game Day Live again. So come on then, Chris. What's your bold prediction?
It's not necessarily a bold prediction given what we've said, and I'm sure Coach Wayne is not going to be happy with me saying this, but my prediction for this season is that the Northant Knights win the SFC2.
Okay, that's not bold.
It's not that bold, but
it's not bold enough for me. I'm going with a London team won't win Britball. There you go.
Blasphemy.
We'll find out where you live.
They might do as well.
Yeah, why not? I tell you what, the Northern Division is starting to brew up quite nicely. It's I'm fascinated with how Tamworth and Manchester are going to go at it this year. And you just never know.
I wonder what our game of the week will be next week.
Yeah, do you think? Well, my bold prediction is the Division 1 South final will be between the Cambridgeshire Cats and the Hertfordshire Cheetahs.
I like that. Ooh. I like that.
A cat fight. Love it.
A cat fight, yeah.
Savage.
I think, to be fair, that'd be a class final. I think it will be interesting. I think there'll be some really good games this year. And I'm thoroughly looking forward to it. Last bit before we go, Game Day Live returns on Sunday, so the guys have got that show up and running again this year. Whereas there we go. Division 1 will be most exciting regular season, but Division 2 playoffs will be competitive. Yeah, I think they probably will. The Game Day Live is back this year, so remember, if you've got scores, get involved, hashtag them, and Stephen that'll pick it up on the show and go through that. Last thing before we disappear here today is the shows won't all last 2 hours and 10 minutes. But obviously this is the first. This is the first show of the year, and obviously there's a lot of new stuff come out, so it's good to talk it through. And would say a big thank you to Craig for coming on again. If you
Pleasure.
guys want, if anybody wants to come on the show, please let us know, because you can promote your team as little or as much as you want, and you can talk as little as much as you want. It doesn't matter, but it's a good place to do. The other thing I got to say is, when you're submitting your plays of the week, can you please not send them in an Instagram story, because I can't download them, and then I can't show them if they disappear from the story. So if you've got them, please send them to the Twitter page as a link, or send them as a video to us, and we'll put them up as plays of the week contenders for next week. Anything
And
to
get
add
them
there, Chris?
sent in. It can't all come from Craig and the cheetahs. We need actual plays. So
exactly,
as we've said, sort of 100 times before with this, it is a chance to advertise yourself. It is a chance to advertise your team. It is a chance to advertise your teammates, whether that's by coming on and being one of our guests or submitting your plays of the week. Send them in, right? We're trying to help promote what's great about this sport. Get them into us so we can show them, and get the Britball community talking about the good stuff that we see week in, week out. Because there's some phenomenal plays out there. And we even had to go around sneak try to find them at points, because people were posting highlight reels but not sending us them, and there was some phenomenal stuff out there. So get them sent in to us. Let us enjoy the good things about our sport, and we're so glad it's back.
Yeah, here we go. Like,
absolutely.
are you doing a blooper of the week? It depends. We
I
picked
can't
one
go
last year.
as long as it's not your same player again, because I believe I
No.
really upset him last time.
Yeah, no, he's not with us anymore. Yeah, probably. She's gone to Bournemouth, so that could be fun and games. We'll be trying to make that happen again for him.
Yeah. So Bournemouth, we're looking at you guys, But no, the thing is, we obviously want the plays of the week. But yeah, if something funny happens, then as I say, like Coach Rain sent us one week of where the ball got like popped off the back of a helmet and stuff like that, and somebody still caught it. So just get them sent in. We'll do something with them. As I say, we want to kind of show you guys what there is out there on offer, because there is some really great stuff.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much, guys. We're going to wrap that up there. Thanks for tuning in again. Like and share it if you can. Try and get as many people out there to know about it as we can. But thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll catch you again next week.
Thanks, everyone.